Hey, it does work. All right. So we're looking at Wednesday, February 20th, and soon we can go through to try and help people out. We're doing Greek mythology today. If you are dead and at home and you thought we were doing speeches and like that, I had to mix things up because of the 2-hour delay. So instead, we're going to be doing Greek mythology today, the speeches tomorrow, and then moving on to the book report workday coming up on Friday. If you're doing the Camp Friends thing, make sure you do it because it closes tonight, because after that, you're just out of luck as far as friends go. We'll continue speeches tomorrow, book report tomorrow on Friday. Dollars and B points does continue for some of you. Camp Tecumseh, you can still turn it in, and money comes due coming up in March, which is still like 3 weeks away. And then Honor Society, I am handing those out today to try and help you out. The handful of you who are still brave enough to have other things on your desk, whether they be a phone or other technology, be
my dad is texting.
Tell him got to go, teacher over shoulder. Technically. It's a metaphor.
Got to go, teacher beating me with a stick.
Something like that. I mean, we should make happen. There's that on video right here. Here's where your blue sheet, white sheet comes in. On the blue sheet, next to where you have responsibly written your name, I'm going to recommend you write the due date. Because if you don't write the due date, then I'll just make up a random date later on. And then, do you want to go to your locker to go get them? Because I'm charging you the points one way or the other. So. Oh, yeah, so you have to buy new ones. Let me sell you new ones. You've now spent 10 points for the week.
What? He done messed up. No, Elliot.
Is it about me ignoring you? Yeah, like these.
It's from Aaron's shirt if you were to pay attention to the little details.
Blue sheet, white sheet. Charlie, quickly.
Wait.
Yeah, that's not quickly.
Some of these answers in the blue one.
No.
So, the blue sheet, you're going to write down due date after your name of March 23rd. That's when it comes due, which is not going to be for a little while yet, because that's not due to the very end of us going over Greek mythology, so you have time. My goal is that I will be giving you all of the answers for it as we go over, as long as you pay attention. We've already done, I think, 1 and 2, if you paid attention. When I go through, I'm not going to just tell you 1 is this, 2 is that, 3 is that. It takes the fun out of things. Instead, I'll just tell you guys the stories, and you can sort of read it and figure it out from there. It is for a grade. Not turning it in is not an option. So if you don't have it done by that point, then I'll have to torture you. But to start off, we're going to be going through the blue sheet in that top left-hand corner. For those of you who are playing the home game, blue sheet looks like this. We're going to go to this top corner. It looks like that. 23rd. On the blue sheet, what we're going to be doing on this top part is figuring out what god these words come from. So our first word will be the one jovial. To help you figure it out, that's where the posters around the room come in, and then the white sheet comes in. The white sheet, you're going to have the one that's the family tree. Looks like that. And the family tree, what it allows you to do is sort of figure out how they're going to be connected to each other. And then the other side, which talks about all the gods, that's going to have the names of all the Olympians and other gods and what they're the god of. So as an example, for jovial, what you're going to try and do is figure out what god we get jovial from. The drawback is it requires thinking on some level. So you're going to have to go through there and take a look at the different gods. It'll either come from the god's Greek name or the god's Roman name, or sometimes what they're the god of, if you have some idea what the word is. What I'm doing right now is wasting time waiting for the first smart kid to figure out where we get the word jovial from. So I'm kind of babbling for a second to fill stuff in until that one kid figures it. I will give you a hint. 2 things. It comes from a god's Roman name. And then 2, you do know the Greek god. It is probably one of the few Greek gods that I can guarantee you know. And so it's going to be one of those gods. And it'll go from there. Delina, why do you say Zeus?
Because that's the only one I know.
It is hard to fight that thinking. Well, you are correct. That is the only one that Delina knows. So I was correct in my hint. On your white sheet, if you look at the side that is not the family tree, but the one that has all the different gods on there, it'll tell you the Roman names, and the bottom, I think they're alphabetically in the Olympian section. It tells you Zeus has 2 Roman names. One is Jove, one is Jupiter, because he had multiple names in Roman mythology. And so Zeus is the one over here above Way, who is holding up his lightning bolt like he's ready to strike down kids in the slow kids section. He's also the one over here, right above the kid who's tapping to see if I'm going to cut off his hands. And then he's also the one that's back over here wearing all of the purple and stuff like that. He was the king god of all the gods themselves. Any chance you guys know what the word jovial means?
Jovius?
Oh, how?
Can I use my phone for this question?
Smart.
I'll just give it to you.
Oh, I was close.
So, jovial means happy, which is kind of ironic because in Greek mythology, Zeus is one of the unhappiest gods that we're going to get to.
I'm happy.
Which is a bit, well, you keep losing points. It's weird how they make you get unhappy. He was considered, you don't have to put that on there, it's just to help you, on top of the world because he was the king of all the gods, so he was the top one. He was the one that was up on Mount Olympus. So the Greeks kind of assumed that he would then be the happiest of all the gods. Ironically, he was not, because he spent most of his time trying to kill either other gods or people, because he was constantly worried that other people were going to overthrow him. So most of our stories are him not being a very happy or friendly person. Well, okay, time out for a second.
Time out.
He was... Dude, you've lost like 6 points already. Calm down a little bit. I know you're excited to learn, but dial it down.
I'm just trying to make it,
I understand. That's why sometimes we have to delete this one and then use other classes. And then you wasted all those B points for nothing. Kids. Well, don't forget to do the math. With Zeus, if you look at the side that has the family tree thing on there, you'll see the fact that he is connected to quite a few people and has quite a few children. Mr. Brovicast, he was married a lot. He was not married a lot. He was married to one person. But he has children with all the... Oh. Yes. Zeus is what we call a very friendly god. He made lots of friends. Anytime that he met a new girl, he oftentimes would become friends with them. And then oftentimes these new friends would have children. Hopefully, if I speak in this code, you'll be able to figure out some information about Greek mythology and some of the friendliness that happens in Greek mythology. Zeus was sort of essentially one of the very first players that existed out there with all of his friendships. So you would think, once again, that he would be happy, but even when he was being friendly, he tended to be grumpy and unhappy. Mr. Brovicast, it just got real creepy. If you thought that was creepy, just wait, because that's just the tip of the creepy iceberg in Greek mythology. But I've tried to babble long enough for my handful of smart kids to figure out the next one all ready to jump ahead.
Cereal.
Allie? And why do you say cereal comes from Demeter? Nicely done. And actually, he is a she. Demeter, whose Roman name is Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, and she was the god of grains and harvest and growing and stuff like that. She is the one that's over here in the brown. Looks like she's hugging a bunch of grain. Over here above, where you go? Where is she? Over here with our throne of grain. Over here, she's also hugging grain. Apparently, according to the Greeks, if you hugged grain, it made it grow more. Because apparently she spends a lot of her time hugging grain. Yes.
So, is that what our cereal today is called?
That is.
A lot of it's grain.
Technically, cereal by definition means it should be made of. The problem is, most of the cereal you eat is not actual cereal by definition. A lot of the cereal you eat used to be made from grains, but they stopped doing that. Like back in the 50s and 60s and 40s, before I was born, when they actually started coming up with the first couple cereals and kids would eat them, they tasted like nastiness. Because it was essentially just big old chunks of wheat and corn they threw into a bowl and like, eat this, child. And the kid's like, it tastes awful. They're like, eat it. Like, okay. And eventually parents decided that if we want our kids to eat it, we can sprinkle sugar on top. And they would sprinkle sugar on top of the cereal. And kids would enjoy, it's like disgusting, but slightly better. Companies realized if you want to make money, you would go ahead and put the sugar on the cereal already. And they started doing that. Companies started pre-putting all the sugar on the cereal. You get the frosted mini wheats, like one side is healthy and then one side has sugar on it. They ended up making the stuff that's called money. And the companies really liked making money. So instead of doing the normal thing, they instead started taking out the wheat and putting more sugar in there. So a lot of the cereal you eat today is sugar-covered sugar with frosting on top. And it eventually became things like Cookie Crisp, which is not even pretending to be cereal. It's like little cookies. You don't even have to pretend to eat cereal. So most of what you eat today that you call cereal has nothing to do with actual cereal. It is just sugar-covered sugar. But at one time, yeah, there's a handful. I think he's like, but I eat Cheerio. And you're right, some Cheerios still have grain in there. Until you get like the frosted sugar Cheerios, and those are the ones they make more money on because it's like normal Cheerios, but they taste like Fruit Loops. Mr. Brovicast, Fruit Loops has fruit, right? Yeah, there's no fruit in Fruit Loops. But they're round, but no, still no fruit in Fruit Loops. Yes. Volcano! Our next one we get to. Linzer?
Oh, it's the Hepa. I don't know what to say.
Nicely done. What's his Roman name?
Vulcan.
Nicely done. Hephaestus, who's the guy, Hephaestus there. He is the one that is over here who has the fire and the burning around him. He also has a crutch in his hand. He's back here above Two Blood. Once again, he's got the fire behind him, and he's working there, and he has a crutch in his hand, although that one is really hard to see unless you're close to it. And then in this one, he's the one sitting down. Couple things with him. One, he has a crutch. He was the ugliest of all the gods. He was considered deformed. And he was the only one that was a crippled god. I thought gods were perfect and could heal. They could, until he made a poor choice as a baby. And there's two different stories we'll get to. One says his mom thought he was so ugly she couldn't take it and threw him out of the house and just chucked him against a wall. And then the other story says that his dad got mad at him in an argument and also threw him out of a window. Either way, it involves a parent throwing him. One hitting a wall, then one hitting a... Anyway, he was crippled from that. His name, by the way, these two letters in the middle, they make the same sound like that thing in your pocket that you hope a teacher doesn't take from you all day. A phone. So you know that that makes the F sound. So when you look at it, his name is not Hephaestus, it is Hephaestus. Oftentimes you'll see his name spelled with an F in there. H-E-F-A-E. Sometimes they'll make it even easier and just spell it H-E-F-U-S-T-U-S. Hephaestus. And so as long as it comes along the same lines, it's the same thing. His name definitely is not hepatitis. Hepatitis is the disease you get when you try to eat food after using the bathroom and not washing your hands. That's hepatitis. Mr. Brovicast, that's disgusting. Agreed. So if you call him hepatitis, he'll usually come down and just punch you right in the throat. My name's not hepatitis. Like, I'm learning. When you fall to the ground. So it's Hephaestus. Now, with Hephaestus, the reason we call a volcano after him is in Greek mythology, he's not the one that made the lightning bolts for Zeus. He actually worked for the people who made the lightning bolts for Zeus, which is a story we'll get to. But he used to do all of his work inside of a giant mountain. And they didn't have things like chimneys, apparently. Because whenever he did this work, it built up heat. And eventually, the top of the mountain, when he worked long enough, would blow off the top. Thus, anytime you saw a mountain and the top explode, like, oh, that's the home of Vulcan, or Hephaestus. So they would call this mountain now a volcano, because that's how you know that Vulcan lived on the inside. Oh, also, the thing he's banging on right there, that black thing.
Anvil.
Nicely done. It's also one over there, also one over here. It's what you can either use to A, shape metal, 2, drop on a roadrunner's head to stop them from running if you're a coyote, or 3, in Minecraft, do repairs. And so that's what it looks like. That is the giant anvil. So oftentimes he's seen with one because his job for the gods was making all the weapons. He would make all the weapons and armor and stuff like that for the gods. And a volcano, it just means mountain of fire, connected to the god of fire. Mountain of fire. Mercurial. Getting to that one. Robbie. Hermes. Why do you say Hermes? Nicely done. Mercurial comes from Hermes, whose Roman name was Mercury. He's the one over here above Mariah who looks like he's doing the Heisman Trophy pose. He did not invent football, but he did like running and pushing people in the face, but who doesn't? Over here, he's back sort of where Irving is. He's the one that ran so fast his shirt fell off because he was the fastest of the gods, and apparently when you run really fast, your clothing just comes flying off of you. Really embarrassing. And then he's also the one back over here who's running and flying through the air. He had the winged helmet and then the wingy shoes. And we're also going to talk about the thing which is in his hand, which you can see best in that picture, which is a stick with 2 wings on it, and it has snakes wrapped around it. And we'll talk about that here in a moment too. With Hermes, he was the god of a couple different things. One of the things that he was the god of was the god of thieves, because he was all speedy and stuff like that. If you were a thief, you would pray to him. Because if you want to steal stuff, the idea is being fast enough to take a thing before a kid can actually figure out that you've taken it. And then you would pray to him like, oh, Hermes, thank you for helping me steal this thing. I appreciate it so much. And so you'd end up praying to the god of that. Or if you were also going to pray to Hermes and you were a bad thief, because sometimes you're really bad at it and people will catch you as you try to steal a thing. Worst catcher ever. Sometimes nicely done.
I didn't know
if they catch you in the middle of stealing it, you'd also pray to Hermes like, oh snap, I got caught. You'd poke him in the eyes like, Hermes, make me run, and you take off running. So thieves would pray to him, and then also people who did traveling would pray to him, because when you're going from one spot to another, you don't want to spend real long out on the road because of thieves, or children. Because if you're traveling for like 3 days with kids and you're a little covered wagon, like, Hermes, help me, because if I'm on this road for 3 days, I'm going to kill a child. He's like, go quickly. Like, thank you, when you take off. So Hermes, god of speed. In Greek mythology, they didn't have telephones, even though we have the PH, which comes from phones, from Hephaestus. So if you wanted to send a message, you had to talk to someone either face-to-face or send a message. Hermes' job was to send a message for Zeus. Whenever he was sending a letter, he would tell Hermes to go deliver it for him. In Greek mythology, Hermes was the first person to ever have ADHD, which we will get to in his story. He could not focus whatsoever. And most of his time was just going like, look, there's a squirrel. Oh my God, there's a butterfly. There's a rock. There's a tree. What's going on? How are you today? And Zeus was like, listen, dude, you just have to go for a run. He's like, okay, I'll go run. And you take off running. I'm back. He's like, that did not take long enough. So, we're going to talk about Hermes and his ADHD and his focus issues when we get to it. Ooh, the word mercurial. It's a scientific term. Is whenever you have a science experiment where things change quickly, that is called a mercurial experiment. The best example would be if you've ever seen people take the Mentos and you drop them into the Diet Coke and it goes kaploopy and goes kasplushty all over people. That's a mercurial reaction. It happens really, really quickly. If you've ever seen water freeze into ice, that is not mercurial. That takes a really, really long time. So a mercurial thing is the thing that changes really quick from one form to the other. And, oh, the stick, I forgot to talk about that. Okay. Sure, points.
Sure.
Go for it. As we talk about the sticky thing up to there, I can tell you you're now down to 11. The stick that he has is called the caduceus staff. To give you a close-up look, it's got a staff with twin snakes going around it and little wingy things at the top. You probably recognize this, although you might not be completely sure why you recognize this, but it is a staff that he stole, unsurprisingly, but it was a healing staff. You would use it to heal people. One of Hermes' jobs was anytime someone died, it was his job to... Wait, let's back up. Let's say Jesse died, and we miss him already. Good job, Jesse. You lived a good life. Once Jesse dies, his soul then pops up like a little ghost. It was Hermes' job to grab his soul and take it to where all souls go. And where do souls go?
Hades.
I was to say, good job saying underworld and not Hades. And then one of you tried to kill us all by bringing the god. And so you would then take the soul down to the underworld. So Hermes would then grab Jesse's little soul and run down to the underworld. And Jesse would flap behind him like a little kite string. And he'd take you down to the underworld and then throw you like, whee, and you'd land. But sometimes it is not your time to die. And if Jesse is laying on the ground like heart attack, he's like, I'm dying. Hermes would come by, and instead of grabbing his soul, he would take his little staff and go, bonk, and he'd bonk him on the head, healing him, bringing him back to life. And that's how the Greeks explained if you saw someone like having a heart attack, like, I'm dying, I'm not, I'm alive. Like, oh, thank Zeus. Well, that was because Hermes came by so quickly, because he's so fast, he's like, ooh, bink, woo, and kept going, bringing you back to life. So it's a healing thing, which means nowadays, where do we see the staff?
Hospital.
You'll oftentimes see it on the back of ambulances or outside of places like that. Mr. Brovicast, that looks different. You're correct. This one has one stake and one stick. And it's actually a different one. It is called the Staff of Asclepiades, which is another really weird Greeky name. But apparently, people are what we call dumb. And even though there were two different sticks, this one ends up getting used almost the same, even though they did two like different things. But they're like, it's got a stick, it's got snakes, it's all the same thing, we're good. And so it's just another type of that same healing thing. Sometimes you'll see this one. Sometimes you'll see this one. They're kind of interchangeable as long as it's a stick and a snake. Life is good.
Favorite.
Now down to fatal. Green? Hades. No, but a good guess. Oh no, there's one that actually connects more than that one. Charlie? Which one? Aries. No, but I can understand the thought because he does the whole killing thing like Hades does. There's actually one that connects even more than that. Luke?
Could it be Fates?
It is the Fates. One, yeah, if you look on the little white sheet, there's one that are called the Fates. Good job calling them the Fates. Two, good job not trying to make it sound Greek. Every year I have a kid who goes, is it the Fates? And I'm like, the what? And they're like, Fates. And I'm like, the Fates? Like, yeah. It's not like some weird Greek word. It's just the Fates. I know. We go from like Zeus, Demeter, Hephaestus, Hermes, then just Fates. In Greek mythology, the Fates were 3 sisters that controlled how long you were going to live. There were 3 of them. Yes. The queen. You have the fact there was the first one named Clotho, second one named Lachesis, and the third one named Atropo. In the movies like that, they're the ones that the girls have like one eye and share the eye between each other. Whether it was the Hercules movie, they tried to cut a string to kill him, or whether it's the Percy Jackson ones where they're like driving the taxi and stuff like that. They're the same ones. In Greek mythology, they did not kill you. They actually brought you to life, which was a slightly different way of doing things. But we're actually going to stop there. You guys actually didn't make me yell at you, so we actually got to finish. So instead, I'm going to do something different for the last 2 minutes. Because my other class, I had to hand out the honor society things. I already got to do that with you guys too. I think it's been a while. Have we played the Mr. Brovicast game with you guys in a while?
I forgot.
The Mr. Brovicast game, where I know I tend to, I don't want to use the word lie, creatively answer whenever you ask me questions. The Mr. Brovicast game is where I let you ask a question, and I will not lie, and I will tell you the truth during the Mr. Brovicast game. It is the only time that you get to pin me down on whatever it might be. Now, I might have to delay some questions, but at least that gives you some direction. Ryan. No. So your hand up a moment ago. Yes.
When's the next?
The checkpoint? Friday is right there. That was easy. Ty.
How old are you?
42. Turned 43 in 3 months. May 18th. So, yeah. I'm not dead yet, but I'm getting there. Raquel. My favorite class period? Second. I have no kids. Loophole. Green. My favorite Greek god? Honestly, I'm not really sure I have one. There's a lot of stories I enjoy, but I don't think I've pinned it down to just one that stands above the others. Hades is just kind of fun because I have some fun stories I get to do with him, like when he kidnaps his wife because he's bad at talking to people, but we'll get there. Maldonado.
Who's your favorite 4th period kid?
My favorite 4th period kid?
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
Don't lie.
I'm not trying to. Part of the issue is kids rotate from week to week. As far as like who's my favorite kid in any class, honestly, it changes because from one week to the next, you guys are good and then annoying.
Who is it?
But hey, now I get to lie again because the bell.